Are you ready?
We clapping?
Can we clap?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Alrighty.
Look at that.
Hey, come on, you're out of the frame, I mean. You're out of the frame.
No, I'm in the front.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Alrighty. Welcome to the Soccer Life Mastery Podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
We have a special guest.
Yes, we do.
Angelo Picca.
Oh,
He's
straight from Italy.
Yes, he lives in Italy. He will share about who he is, but I just want to let them know about. He played a special part in my life when I went to Italy and pursued my, dream and career. He looked after me, even kind of like a father figure, and really took care of me.
That's awesome.
And was managing my career as well in terms of getting me into trials, talking to club presidents and everything you could imagine.
That's important.
So yes, so that's why I couldn't wait to get him on.
That's awesome.
He's helped me heaps.
Angelo, I'm also excited to meet you. So I'm pretty excited. I can't wait for you to share your experience with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
if you want to start off, Angelo, just to share about who you are and what you do and whatever else you want to start with.
Well, actually, thank you for having me on. Obviously, I want to answer to what Kyle was saying before about his experience in Italy. And anyway, a big hello to you as well, Ignacio. But I want to answer what Kyle was saying. I think Kyle, since he was over in Italy, it wasn't that difficult to manage Kyle because he was a fully motivated kid. He was very, very well prepared for what was to come. It was a very tough experience, but Kyle was very easy to manage because when I spoke to clubs and presidents and spoke very highly of him, he never let me down. And I think this is very important for any kid that comes overseas, be it Italy, England, Belgium, Germany. But Kyle was very, very good. He came over here at a very early age. But as I said to you before, Ignacio off air, Kyle is a very self-motivated kid, and he's got a dream and he follows it. And I think it's very important for any kid that has ambition to play overseas. So it was a delight to manage Kyle, and he did very, very well. The only thing, he struck a couple of injuries that at times they sort of like block your career. It's a bit of a stop-start sort of situation. But Kyle, as a motivated, as a kid that wanted to make it, it was a dream to manage.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, everyone does know that, injuries weren't my it wasn't my luck in terms of that sort of aspect. But yeah, I've always kind of felt like I always had that dream and I just didn't care. I just wanted to have success regardless of all the obstacles that I faced. But even through those, you helped me get through a lot of those, just looking out for me, even when there was, bad spouts when I was injured and then had a bad time at a club. You were always there and helped me so much to get through those bad times, especially not having friends or family there. You were awesome in sort of that aspect, bringing me in, and you were sort of treating me like family with, Christmas dinners and birthday and all that sort of stuff. So thank you so much again for that.
And this is pretty important when you move abroad.
Yes.
When you try to find someone that you kind of relate to your family or someone that kind of like give you a little bit comfortable, like in a comfortable situation.
Yeah, comfortable.
So it's pretty important to have someone like you or for Kyle, and I do have some people here, even you mentioned that before. Like when you move abroad with your family or by yourself, you don't have no one to rely on it. And having someone like him, like as you mentioned, like a father figure as well. This is so important. That makes you keep going.
Yes.
Right? So this is pretty important.
And even from my dad's perspective, sending me over and leaving me there. Well, first couple of years, I wasn't with Angelo, but having the reassurance of having somebody take care of you, not just your football side of things, but your personal life, especially as a young player, that's super important, and that's why I show gratitude to you for that. I wanted to ask you and tell the audience about what you were telling me previously last week about maybe a person who just came over to Italy or some people that you've been managing or helping. What sort of stuff do you do in regards of helping players who have those dreams and things like that?
Well, first when I first came over to Italy, obviously, I was working in a different role as a director, commercial director company, which is called Okiten, which is a product that you see in the interior of a home or commercial coffee shops and all that sort of thing. Anyway, I want to ask you a question. I've actually set up a very, very good network as far as football and sort of setting up a career for a kid that has a dream. I've actually married up with a former player that his name is Claudio Pelosi, who played professionally in Italy in Serie B, and then he also played 3 seasons at Adelaide City as a visa player. He stayed there 3 years and played in the National League, which is a top flight in Australia, and the A-League, the former A-League. And what do, Kyle? Well, what I do is I try and make it easier for kids to have a dream. And through this network, we can actually set up trials and set up, like some of these clubs that are interested in young aspiring kids. Like in Australia, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands like you were, Kyle. And we try and make it easier, with you, it was, as I said before, it was easy because, you were like family and, you're a very well-mannered kid. And I think that's very important off the park. And you showed that you actually set yourself up very well because, you were fully motivated, well-educated kid, and then aspiring, and you fully committed to your physical part and you sort of like skills and all that sort of thing. You were very well prepared anyway, so it wasn't hard to get your trials. And, that's what we do here, teaming up with Claudio Pelosi. We try and identify young aspiring kids and then setting them up for trials for these clubs to have a look at them. And then, obviously, there is a bit of a career path because in Australia it's very tough.
Yeah, and what we spoke about previously is in Italy there's so many different clubs and there's such a big variety of paths you can take where clubs can feed you into bigger clubs, and with the whole relegation promotion system where Australia can be a little bit stagnant and static, where there's no real pathway. There's only one professional club in the whole entire state of South Australia, and it goes for most states where there's only one club to go to. And there's so many players in Adelaide all fighting for what 11, the starting 11 of Adelaide United. And then the next step down is MPO, and even then you can't live off that, and you only play MPL, so you could probably and hopefully go to Adelaide United. So there's not enough clubs here where the pathway is so small, and you see state players go through the state system, go to Adelaide United Youth, and then they drop off because there's not enough spots. And then next year there's a whole other range of kids wanting to take that spot of 11, starting 11. Where Italy, there's so many different clubs, and I know you have lots of connections with different clubs, where then it's so much easier. Okay, maybe one club you're not a right fit for, but then there's all these other different possibilities and opportunities, which is the benefit of Italy or a benefit of any other club, country like England and Belgium and Germany, things like that. That's Australia's limitations for sure. And that's why it could be definitely a good pathway going overseas. I wanted to ask, I forget the name you mentioned on the last video call about, was it Christian Mediacho or someone who might be set up with an academy or?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, correct. And I want to commend you and Ignacio for starting up this Mastery Life and Soccer Life Mastery. I think it's a great opportunity, and it's another step, because I believe in South Australia, or even in Australia in general, the institute is gone. There's no more of this high-tech training, like if you got into the institute, you would get like all of this high-tech and high-level training, in preparation for professionalism. Just going back to Christian Mediacho, his name is, who is a kid that's 17, born in 2004. He actually trained with Adelaide United. He was in the under-20 setup under Carl Veer. but a very, 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 very high skilled kid. You know, he was in the Institute of Sport, but then he lost that drive, he lost courage because he wasn't getting the opportunities. And I think, like you said, Kyle, if there's people overseas that have this opportunity of some sort of career path where the kids can be seen by professional clubs, or even as low as Serie D, Serie D, Serie C, Serie B. Let's go back to Serie D. That is a great opportunity, and that is where Christian Mediacho is. He's actually at Chieti FC. We're in Serie D, but the training, he's on a scholarship, by the way. He'll be there for the whole year. He had all expenses paid for, airfares. He's got accommodation, food, and everything provided for him. It's all paid for, and he's there for a whole year under the training of Lucarelli. Lucarelli, who has played professionally in Italy. He's actually is the coach of Chieti FC. And young Christian Mediacho has noticed straight away the intensity, the training, the different type of professional sort of training that, you know, they have a scientific coach, they have, you know, like obviously a coach, assistant coach, but, you know, these kids are tested in so many ways, right, to get them ready for professionalism. And Christian is one example. You know, we have other players as well that we are setting up this sort of thing. And we're looking not only for young aspiring kids, Kyle, but kids that are prepared to do it hard like you did. You know, obviously your injuries, you as an example were perfect. You know, when you got injured, you fought back, you were fully committed, fully professional. You didn't go out lairising or going out with the kids or, you know, like picking up a smoke, a cigarette, or, you know, you were fully committed off the park. And I think you can actually convey your story to everybody because that was a perfect example of what you need to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. In regards to me,
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So you just make me proud.
Yeah, I'm a good example of. I had the mentality and the mindset. I just didn't have the body and, you know, maybe the other side of it, where there was other kids who were better at football. They were better body, they're faster, smart, whatever. But they just didn't have the mentality to stick it out. You know, they wanted to get up to mischief, or they missed their girlfriend from back home, or they just wanted to go out. They see their friends partying at home, they miss it, get homesick, and want to go home. Where I was by far not the most talented kid, but I did have the mentality in that mindset. Okay, I want to achieve something. In order to achieve something, I must give it my 100%. And every little thing that distracts me or takes me away from my dream or goal, I have to eliminate. And that's something for the kids where they have to weigh up, hey, look, well, okay, maybe I like the idea of being a professional footballer, but do I really want to go over to Italy and, you know, sacrifice my friends or my home life? Kids have to think about it and go, cool, am I ready for that? Yeah. Or do I just see the Ronaldo on TV and think, you know, that's what I want to be, and so that's what I want to get to? But they don't see what happens behind the scenes. They don't see, you know, all the learning a different language, or, you know, all that harder stuff.
This is pretty much like for everything, right? We kind of like visualize something. Okay, I want it. I want it so bad. But then when you leave it, and then you feel it, and then it's a little bit different.
Yes.
So when people just move abroad, or when people just try to pursue their dreams, they're like, okay, they just keep thinking in the good side of it.
Yes.
Okay, I want to be famous. I want to be good. I want to play like in professional teams and like in like national teams.
Yes.
Something. That is so cool. Okay, before you go there, you have to hustle. You have to pursue. You're gonna get like some no's. You're gonna get like some bad feedbacks. How are you gonna deal with it?
Yes.
How are you gonna deal with being like homesick? What are you gonna do about it? And that's the thing. People just kind of like when they had their dreams, they just visualize like the good things about it. Never the other ones. Like, hey, I want to be rich. Yes, for you to be rich, you need to work like pretty hard. You need to like deal with so many situations, and people don't get that. And that's the thing. If you have the mentality, okay, I'm going to go there, everything's going to be pretty terrible in the beginning. I'm going to feel homesick. I'm going to feel tired. I will miss my friends. I will miss everything, but I'm ready to go for it.
Yeah.
And then once you realize, you already did the hardest part.
Yes.
And then all you need to do now is apply yourself in the training session and everything. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, like your body was having some injuries, and so your mentality was okay, but then your body was not following you properly. Yeah. So but like it's complicated. I know it's complicated, like living abroad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's some people get carried away with the dream and don't understand the reality of a footballer, where it's not always just straight, I'm going to go to Roma FC and be the starting player and be the best in the world. Especially from coming from Australia, you may be the best in Australia, but you're going to go to Italy, you're just another player. You know, you're not anything special once you go over. But going over in the first place really gets you, opens up your world and go, crap, this is the level I have to get to. I have to push myself even more. And being in that environment, you can start excelling and improving and going, okay, this is where I have to be. And you may stay there and try to improve and become a player in Italy. Or if you do come home, we see it all the time. Players that go to overseas, have a season or 2 seasons, they come back home, they're so much better, they get in better teams, they get better money, they get seen by better clubs, all because they took that step to go overseas and get trained and really see the level that's out there, instead of getting stuck in, you know, your local club and thinking you're the best when there's so much improvement needing to be made.
Because sometimes we don't see that improvement. We only see when you just go through a different process.
Yes.
As you mentioned, okay, some people just come back. When they come back, then they realize, okay, I'm pretty good now. Like I'm so much better because I just realized that I improved. And when you're there, you don't feel that improvement, right?
Yeah. I think, Angela, you were telling me of a couple examples, or an example of a player that went to Italy from Australia, had a couple seasons, and then went back to Australia and had an incredible career after they went overseas for a bit.
Absolutely. I think firstly I want to answer what Ignacio was saying before, which is one important thing, is when you do go overseas and you get homesick. And I think that's where you were very, very tough, Kyle. A great example, because, you look at Christian Mediacho, he's only 17. He came over last year, he was only 16. So he went over for the trial, went to the club. He did everything right. The club liked him. Unfortunately, because of COVID, he had to go back home. That was the only reason. Otherwise, he would have been staying last year. And he came back this year, and the president and the club paid everything. But I want to answer what Ignacio was saying before. Any kid that wants to make it overseas or wants to make it at a professional level must be ready for the thunderstorm, because when you go overseas, you got to get it adapted to all of the conditions, the culture, because different culture, and then there's a football culture, and then there's a country culture. And I think, Kyle, you did it very hard. You adapted to both, because the culture, for example, Italy is totally different to Australia. Number 2, the football culture, you got to get adapted to the military and the discipline of training, the various variable training. It's all very, very tough, but you got to get adapted to that. A lot of kids, like a 16-year-old kid, for example, is going to be confronted with a shock. But if you want to make it overseas, for example, I can give you 2 really good examples. Matthew Kemp, a kid called Matthew Kemp, who played for Adelaide United, but before he played for Adelaide United, he was at Adelaide City. And before that, he was in Italy at Ascoli Piceno, which is a Serie C club. Now, we're talking Serie C, we're not talking Serie A, or the top flight competition. Matthew Kemp went to a Serie C club. He trained and played for 1 season. When he went to Australia, he played a full season with Adelaide United. And after 2 seasons, he went to Melbourne Victory. And the reasons why I say that is it's a top example of the training and the difference where it's a lot more, the levels a lot higher, and come back a lot stronger, like Kyle was saying before. The other kid, very quickly, was Adriano Pellegrino, who also played for Adelaide City and Adelaide United in the first season when I was general manager at Adelaide United with John Cosmina. He only played 2-3 games that year. Went overseas in a Serie D club, might I say. He played the whole season, then came back to Australia, went to Perth Glory, won the best and fairest. Perth Glory A-League. So those are two examples. Their experiences overseas made them a lot tougher. They were a lot better. They're better prepared for the storm, for anything. And they came back and played in Australia with flying colours. Both of them are very, very successful players. You can have a look at the A-League and see how many games they played. And but I must say, also what Ignacio was saying before, it takes a lot of courage. We obviously know the dream of playing overseas, but then it takes a lot of courage, a lot of discipline, and then you got to weather the storm and take everything that's thrown at you in another country as far as training, discipline. Like Kyle was saying before, no cigarettes, no alcohol, no partying, none of this, none of that. I mean, it's a very, very tough assignment for a kid that's 15, 16, 17. And those are the crucial ages if you want to make it overseas.
Yeah.
And Angelo, would you mind if I ask, do you think people who just go overseas, live there like for 6 months or like a year or so, when they come back, do they get better because here there's no English barrier to them? They have like all the relatives quite close, so they realized all the thunderstorm they went through, like Europe, for example. When they come back, they feel more comfortable, and also, of course, they learn a lot with the other coaches and with the culture as well, and everything they've been through. So when they come here, they feel like more relaxed regarding, okay, I don't need to concern about what's going to happen like when I come back home, because I'll be having like maybe my wife or my mom and dad, and I don't have like any issue with like the language, and I have the same food because I want that food. So do you think they get better and that's one of the main reasons for it? Or like it's just because like, okay, they have like a really nice coach in overseas, and then when they come back they learn everything from them? Or do you think that external part it like make them better like quite quickly because of the external part as well? Does it make sense? Can you translate?
Yeah, so I think you understand. So Nassier's saying, do you think that they improved only because of the coaching, or do you think it's a mix of having to do with the full lifestyle of football overseas, dealing with the hardships, dealing with the English, different language barriers, the growth of a person, of growing as a person, dealing with hardship, making you stronger of a person, also makes you a better player when you come back home?
That's another good point. Like when you go through this process, it does make you a stronger person. It does make you a complete person, because all footballers, we all know the lives of footballers. Obviously some are controversial, some are great. Like we all know this. But I think for a kid, to answer what Ignacio was asking before, it does make you a lot tougher. It makes you a complete person. It's like a person that goes to the military. If you take the game seriously, you take your career seriously, you really want to make it, then you need to apply yourself even off the field. It's not just about playing and, like you're the fastest player or the most skillful player. If you're a larrikin, sometimes you don't make it because you might be thrown out of a club or, so I think, I'm trying to answer it as quickly as I can. You need to be a good person off the park as well, because otherwise clubs will not accept you. And I know a lot of kids, Kyle, like yourself, when you were at the academy at L'Aquila, they were in Serie C at that time. That a lot of kids, after training, smoking, drinking, like just after training. I think that sort of thing can only block your career, can even stop your career or like slow it down. And I think that sort of attitude will not get you anywhere at the age of 16, 17, 18.
Couldn't agree more. And that's kind of why, we even named ourselves Soccer Life Mastery, because it is about mastering the entire life of being a footballer, where it's not just, can I kick a ball straight? It's okay. Can I adapt the lifestyle of being a footballer? Can I live a healthy life? Can I take, my off the field stuff very seriously, just as much as we take the on the field stuff very seriously? And that's why we try to incorporate, mentality topics within our training sessions, whether it's humility, work ethic, respect, all those types of things. Because if you go overseas or even within Australia, and you got to be able to portray yourself as a professional human being, not just a good footballer. Those footballers who, like you said, are larrikins and get up to mischief, or even just carry themselves disrespectfully. Coaches and presidents, especially presidents, they don't want you representing their club and things like that. So we definitely agree, and that's why we try to incorporate that stuff in our academy. I would want to ask you, actually, because you had some involvement with Adelaide United or something like that. I believe you have some back when you were living in Australia previously. What was your involvement with Adelaide United?
Well, firstly, I started at Adelaide City, and as a marketing director there during the National Soccer League years, and also at Galaxy, which managed. And in the end, through my experiences at Adelaide United as a director on the board back in 2002, then as a marketing director in the marketing capacity, I was director on the board. And then we had a first season, obviously, 2003. That's when Adelaide United started. And I was instrumental into the startup of Adelaide United as far as the logo, creating the logo, which is still the logo today. You see, it was accepted by the community, by the board, and obviously Gordon Pickard, who was the owner of the club at that stage. If you remember, I think Ignacio might remember as well, we had a startup of Adelaide United, then we had the whole season off. There was no National League for 1 year. And during that period, I was general manager of Adelaide United, going to meetings with Frank Lowy, his sons, John O'Neill, who was the CEO. And why did we have that year on? That was all to kill off the old National Soccer League and then start up a new brand A-League with, more Australianising the game and like making it part of the whole community. So it was a big project. I mean, I'm really getting passionate about this, Kyle. I'm glad you asked that question because it does bring back a lot of memories, because the A-League today is the A-League, what it is today is because of what we did back in 2003 and 4, setting up the foundations and, throwing out the game to the larger community to, like instead of just being an Italian or Greek or Croatian or South American, great upbringing of the pedigree of football, we actually brought the game to Australia, to the Australians. And I think for that reason, the marketing aspect of the game is much better today. We see larger crowds today. But it's all because we founded this back in 2003 and 4 to Australianise the game. We're fully committed to doing that. And that was my role at Adelaide United. Then I had an experience at Newcastle Jets. It's another. I was there for 2 years in the media manager capacity. Obviously, my experiences at Adelaide United that did help Newcastle Jets a lot because they were a newly founded club. And so my experiences, 2 A-League clubs, my involvement with Radio 5AA, in starting up a 5AA soccer show with Chris Dittmar and Aurelio Vidmar, who with Aurelio, we touch base every week. My involvement and experiences with football in Australia has been very large. And, I brought this over in Italy, now setting up a network with Claudia Pelosi for Career Path for Kids. We're bringing kids over from Australia. And those kids that are, like you said before, Kyle, that are well prepared, kids that are disciplined, and they have a dream, but then also have the right attitude to make it. And I think that they're 3 very important aspects.
Yeah, no, that's speaking of that. If there was a kid watching this and saying, "I want to go overseas, I want to be, I want to do this," what would you say? Like, what would a kid need? How old should they be? Do they need some type of passport? Do they need to be a type of nationality? For a kid wanting to play overseas, what would be some advice you need to tell them, or what would they need to do? Would you say?
Okay. Firstly, they need to have a European passport if they come over overseas and stay here for a long period of time. If they want to come over here for a short time, obviously what the thing to do, Kyle, is firstly have that dream, believe in that dream, have the right attitude as far as equipment and to football for a long period of time, because when you come overseas, coaches are very hard. Kyle, if you training or you want to train, perhaps you're not committed. They just look at you straight in the face, and you can tell. So I think if a kid wants to come overseas, they need to be really, really well prepared physically, mentally. They need to be mentally strong. Like you were saying before, Kyle, you went through it. Without your parents, who did you have in Italy? Nobody. Then obviously very lucky to find each other. Myself, who had been in Australia with an extensive experience in football, and then setting up a network, and then we took care of you. You were over my house for Christmas, and trying to really make it a little bit easier for kids, because it is tough when you're 15, 16 or 17. You're away from your parents, you're away from your brother. Yourself, Kyle, you missed your family. You had nobody. You were just by yourself, living in an apartment and going to training and living and breathing football. So I think instead of thinking, I'm going to be playing in England for Liverpool or AC Milan, Juventus, or Napoli, or these big gun teams, it's a dream. But I think you need to stop and think and have all of the aspects of becoming a footballer. You need to have discipline, you need to be prepared, and you need to have commitment and highly motivated kid to do just about anything to make it to the top.
Yeah, no, great advice. We cut up a little bit there in terms of the audio quality, but hopefully they got to understand everything you said, because it's very important. Is there a ripe age, or what would be the age you would even recommend having kids come over? Would you say, would you advise, because a lot of people do those tours where, they bring 13, 14, 15-year-olds over. They do those little soccer tours with big clubs. What would you recommend for a player? Do you think they should come over young, or do you think they should come over more 16 years old, 18 years old, or even younger, 12, 13? What would you say is probably, most beneficial for players? And
I think Kyle, to be fair, around about the age of 16, because if you're any younger than that, it would be really, really tough. You need to have insurance and, also security, I think the parents would be very concerned if a kid came over at 13, 14, 15. There are some kids that go overseas or come over in Italy with their parents. For example, Ross Aloisi, his nephews come over. They were only 11, but they were accompanied by the parents and guardian, and they went to Inter Milan. For example, Claudio Pelosi exposed a little bit of experience for these kids there, but it's only training in a short stint. I think, to answer your question, for kids around 16, he's already had a bit of preparation, like at the Soccer Life Mastery, for example. You guys have prepared him to a certain level, and 16 years old, you can understand, understand a little better when a coach speaks to you, and, you're prepared to listen, and you know what you got to do. Practically, you already reached a certain level, and you want to advance that level. You want to go further. I think the age of 16, 17, maximum 17 is is fundamental. I think 16 is the right age to answer your question for a lot of reasons. Okay, and we've got a very, very good network from Serie D to Serie C to Serie B, and obviously if the kid plays Serie B, then he's going to be seen by scouts and professionals and FIFA agents and all that sort of stuff, you know. But you know, 16 years old, Kyle, to answer your question, 16 I think is the right age.
Yeah, beautiful. No, awesome. Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. Any youngers, you know, pushing it. And 16, they can be kind of independent and really as preparation, not only as football, I would give some advice to the kids is, depending on the country you go to, you should probably already start studying their language or learning how to, you know, the basics, adult life of cooking, cleaning, you know, being an adult is, you know, even should start preparing of the lifestyle things, not just football. Learn their language, learn about their culture, what's normal. Because the more you fit in, the more you'll enjoy your life in terms of that aspect. Once I started learning the language and making friends and being able to communicate, I felt more comfortable, and I can also understand the coaches better. Therefore, the coaches appreciate what I'm doing. Because if I go over there and I'm not understanding the coach isn't going to want me as a player. Yeah. If I can't understand the tactics, I can't understand his coachings, that's an issue. So definitely for players who are going over to a country, you best learn their language and start doing it quick, because that's a killer for sure if you can't understand.
This is also part of like the mentality you mentioned before. Some of the kids, they don't visualize things like that, and they might even choose like go to England because of that English barrier. For example, okay, I'm gonna go to England. They speak the same language. Why would I go to Italy to learn a different language? Well, this is gonna make you better. Because once you kind of like learn, once you have to deal with some sort of situation like food, because sometimes we don't talk a lot about food, but like when you go to a different place, it's totally different food. Then you're gonna eat, you're gonna think, okay, I don't like this. I need to learn how to like this. I need to learn how to talk, how to use or how to speak with them, and this is so complicated. We know that, but like I'm just saying in a matter of fact of like, okay, if you don't have that mentality, okay, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna do everything. As I mentioned to you, I know it's not related to soccer, but like when I moved to Australia, Angela, just so you know, I came with my wife and my son. And we came with no English at all. So I was learning 3 different things. I was learning everything about Melbourne, how to use the public transport, how to talk to people, how to ask just a few questions that I could have the answer back, and just a few words about English. That's the only thing I learned, but I was studying everything to not get lost at least. I don't want to get lost in Melbourne. But people, if they go overseas with that mentality, okay, I'm going to learn how to communicate. I'm going to learn just some keywords, and I want to understand what they're going to talk to me. Okay, they are like literally way more prepared than everyone else who just go there without any other language. Because we know going to there, like a lot of people understand English, so...
No, absolutely, Ignacio, make a very good point. And I want to bring up another thing very quickly. Christian Mediacho, who's he's got Italian parents, obviously in Australia, living in Adelaide. He, part of his CV, he's actually at Chieti FC, and Chieti are now sending him to Italian school, obviously to learn the Italian language. As you were saying before, it's fundamental that you understand what the coach is telling you, the coach's instructions and strategies and all that sort of thing. But he's not here just to live and breathe football. You know, the club is now committed to sending him to an Italian school so that he can learn Italian and prepare himself for the future. As a 17-year-old now, he's not just here to play football, but he's also committed to going to school, to Italian teaching, culture, and all that sort of thing. And I can name other players like John Aloisi has played in Italy, okay? Paul Ocon has played for Lazio in Italy. We all know Paul Ocon. Marco Bresciano for Palermo. Vince Grella. These are 4 names of players that have come overseas here. Some of them are Italian, obviously got Italian upbringing, but they were forced forced, I use in inverted commas, to go to Italian school to learn the Italian language. I mean, you just can't play football with 11 people on the park and maybe in inverted commas and say you don't understand what they're saying. And Kyle knows all about that. He's very committed, and he was a dream to manage because you never had to tell him things twice. And I think that's a very important thing for a young kid, a 16-year-old, to come overseas and be a listener. You need to listen to a lot of people, and you need to adapt quickly. And it's not just football. It's also about mentality. It's a mental thing. And I think you guys in Soccer Life Mastery, I'm glad that you put that in the repertoire, that the fact that you need to have the mentality, you need to be strongly minded to actually achieve your dream.
Yeah, no, it's one of the major things. And I see players who have been, the best in Adelaide or really good in Adelaide, and they go over and they bring an ego with them and they think they're the best, and then they get put on the bench or they're no longer that star player, and then they crumble. They want to go home. They spit the dummy. They think, the coach has got no idea what they're on about. And because of their ego, and like you said, they're not using their ears, they're not listening and being trying to be a sponge of information. They're just trying to they just think they're the best already. So yeah, definitely if you're trying to go overseas, be a listener, be a sponge, try to absorb the information, because you must understand you're there to learn and improve. The coaches are there for a reason, and the managers are there for a reason to help you along the journey. So definitely players with that ego, you got to leave that. You got to leave that in Australia, or even in Australia, leave it at the door. You got to be a listener. You got to have respect for the people who are giving you information, trying to help you along the journey. Because every time the players spit the dummy, and then they go back home 2 months later and say, waste of time.
Yeah. Very, very important. You said that. For example, Harry Kuehl. Everyone knows Harry Kuehl. He went over to Leeds United when he was 15. But why did he go? Because he was under 16. Why did he go when he was 15? Because he had relatives over in England. But Harry Kuehl has got a very, very good story. The first thing he was doing at 15 years old, playing in the underage teams at Leeds United, he used to clean the boots, of the reserves and of the first team players. So, he did it tough because England is not actually a very easy environment. The weather is tough in England. If you go as a young kid, you're going to say, when am I going to see the sun? Obviously, there is summer over there as well, but I'm talking about country culture and then football culture. They are two very, very tough environments if you're living away from home, away from parents, brothers, sisters, and all that sort of thing, away from family, and doing it tough. John Kuzmina, for example, Kyle, he went to Arsenal. And then through his own admission, he said, I couldn't hack it anymore. I'm a surfer, I love surfing. Over there it was always gloomy, it was always dark. And, he reckons he couldn't hack it. He couldn't hack the weather and the climate and, the environment, the culture in England. So, after one season at Arsenal, he went back to Australia. So, I think all of these things need to be massaged around the minds of these kids, that have a dream and they want to make it. It's not just about football. It's about mentality, like you said, Kyle. That is a very, very important thing. Very important thing to remember. Have the mentality. It's easy to dream. Everybody watches the English Premier League and the Serie A and the Bundesliga and the Liga in Spain and also in France and all of these top flight competitions, and they have a dream, but you need to have the right mentality, the discipline and preparation.
Absolutely. I think, honestly, I think that kind of explains everything. I think that's the theme of kind of this whole podcast is, as a player, you have this dream. Obviously, you need contacts and networks, otherwise you've got no chance. But as an individual, what you can do for yourself is not only be the best footballer that you can be, but start working on your mentality, you being a strong person, preparing for the culture. Okay, maybe how can I learn about Italian culture so I can fit in? Because the more you fit in, the easier your life will be. Can I learn the language? Can I start being more coachable? Can I start listening more? Can I start having respect for people instead of thinking I'm the best player in the world and having this ego about you? Can you be a bit humble? Can you have humility? Even this week, this week's topic is humility. I'm sure some of the kids are laughing right now because we spoke about it. We make the kids do push-ups when they break the mentality topic, whether it's humility and they're not being humble. We all do push-ups. When we're not being respectful, we all do push-ups. And it's just trying to set the tone of, if you want to be professional, you best start acting professional. Because the more you act it, the more you'll become it. And then when you go overseas, people can sense, okay, this guy's a serious footballer. He's got he represents himself professional. He stands up tall. He's like we said, even in Italy, when I was there, we had some feedback. I shook a nice firm handshake. I looked him in the eye. All those little things is the off the field stuff, which is why we say soccer life mastery. It's not just football; it's the life of soccer that you have to master. So that's what we're trying to do, is prepare kids to play in Australia, to play socially, or those players who want to take the next level. We want to open up this pathway with people like yourself who have the contacts, have the experience, to really help these kids, achieve their dreams. Because that's the best thing we can do for kids, is help them along their journey, the best that they can. I think we've covered everything, but I would leave it to you to say anything else. Anything else?
Look, I agree. I think, firstly, I congratulate both you and Ignacio on this soccer life mastery, because, as you said, Kyle, you said it very well. It's not just about playing football or being the fastest on the pitch or being the most skillful, or like being a total football nerd. It's also about the mentality, and it's also about off the park. I think you need to have that discipline. You need to have it all. Otherwise, you might as well just play five-a-side, play casual football. I think if you want to make it, you have the dream, you need to think about it a lot, because, obviously, look at Christian Mediacho. He did all the right things. He went to the Institute of Sport, went to the Australian Institute of Sport. He played in the Adelaide United under 20. And obviously, he's one of those thousands of kids, Kyle, that got disillusioned by being excluded, or for whatever reason, political, or whatever the reasons may be. I believe in that, what you're doing in the Soccer Life Mastery, because I can tell you that things haven't changed. There's a lot of exceptional kids, or there's a lot of really, really good kids, skillful, that are not playing at the high level because of politics, or because of favoritism, nepotism. All of these things still exist today. I believe in Australia, in Adelaide, in Melbourne, all the states, there are kids that are better. There are kids that are better than some of those kids that are playing in under 20 Adelaide United, under 20 Melbourne Victory, or whatever. They're outside, and they're waiting to be picked up. And your organisation, the Soccer Life Mastery, is offering another opportunity at some of those kids. I truly believe there will be thousands, not hundreds, thousands of kids in Australia who are better than some of those that are playing in the reserves or under 20 of the A-League, right, but not getting a chance because of either parents are rich, or some got a sponsor, or some politics, or some nepotism or favouritism. So what do we do, Kyle? What do we do, Claudio, Pelosi and I? We try and have an opportunity for some of those kids that haven't had the opportunity in Australia, okay? But having said all that, we are looking for exceptional kids, because if you don't have the attributes, then you come overseas and you'd be just spending money, money, and, you're not getting anywhere. So I think you need the right preparation. If Soccer Life Mastery does does offer that preparation, and I know that you guys do, because you said mentality, you're also working on mentality. I think there is an opportunity, there are opportunities overseas for those kids that are highly disciplined, mature, they have the right mentality, the right attitudes, and the right commitment to their body. Like you said, Kyle, you must eat right, you must sleep right, you must be fully committed. None of this smoking, drinking, alcohol, all that sort of stuff that kids want to do, because they already think they're stars. So that's the type of kids we're looking for. If some of those kids want to have a crack, then we have the doors. We can open those doors.
Beautifully said. Awesome. There's honestly nothing else to add.
Cool.
That was perfect, and I really do think there's something special that can happen with Soccer Life Mastery and opening up doors with the help of yourself, and like you said, Claudia Pelosi. But beautiful. I want to thank you again for coming on, and thank you for helping me in my career when I was, I think it was 5 years ago. I can't remember anymore. It's been a while since I was over there, but still very thankful, and always have so much gratitude for you and all the help you had for me. But yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, because you've been great. Because I'm telling you, like, I know that's also like Kyle's personality, but like a lot of things you did for him, certainly he applied on Soccer Life Mastery. He built the whole thing. It's such an amazing kid. As I mentioned to you before, I keep saying this all the time. And okay, like his dreams about being a footballer, like a professional footballer, unfortunately it was stopped because of the injury. But as a grown man now, because he's a grown man, even with 23 years old, such a grown man, know what to do, now know how to deal with parents, know how to deal with the kids, has like his program totally set up. It's amazing. So I think you are also part of this. Everything that he experienced, the way he grows from a kid to a man, and that's also part of like the journey of living abroad and just coming back to Australia and building the Soccer Life Mastery community. So that's amazing.
No.
And I'm happy.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for the kind words. Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you both. I'll leave you with those words, these words very quickly. I really think that you guys are doing a great thing with this Soccer Life Mastery. You're giving kids an opportunity to dream, believe, and then have a real crack at what they want to do, is to be a professional footballer. So to both of you, thank you for having me on. And at any time that you guys want some sort of information, about what we're doing overseas, I'm here for Kyle. Obviously, Kyle. Again, has been unlucky, and through just too many injuries, for the kid, too many injuries at that time. But he is a great example of what a kid needs to do in preparation for a career path or to go overseas. So once again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelo. Appreciate it. Until next time, I'm sure we'll hear from you soon.
For sure.
Ciao. Ciao.
See ya.
Bye.